Very glad to be here. So far, very interesting presentations. And I very recently became interested in both immersive technologies and language learning. And I'm very grateful to Dr. Kinshuk for sharing this event in social media. And this is from where I learned about the event. I see most of you are local to the University of North Texas. I try to blend in with selecting the theme of my presentation towards your community. And yeah, I just want to mention that I met Dr. Kinshuk on my first academic conference where I presented a paper about, again, prototyping a virtual reality system for learning. So that's my general interest. As you can see here, I represent a research group on immersive technologies and learning. That's my main focus. I work as a researcher, but I don't really do any research in the recent few years. And the Norwegian University of Science and Technology is the biggest university in Norway, and it's the only technical university in Norway. And I will just tell you a few words about how the virtual reality and language learning came together into a small prototype, and then I'll give you a short demo. So I will actually start telling you what I normally do. I normally work with augmented reality mostly, and I work on developing educational resources for someone who wants to learn how to develop augmented reality systems. Sometimes we cover also virtual reality topics, so that's mostly for either computer science students or enthusiasts or 3D graphic designers. And I also work in the commercial sector where we develop holographic training, what we call, in a company called WikiTCS. I'm also very glad to have heard already from almost all the speakers about different modes of learning in augmented reality. That's exactly what I normally do. However, at the university where I work only half-time, I coordinate a virtual reality lab where we focus on integrating virtual reality and augmented reality into the higher educational process, and we work along 3 lines that you can see now on the right of the slide: explore, educate, and experiment. So we run a lot of public events and let people explore what virtual reality and augmented reality are and how they can be used for learning. We have multiple invited speakers. We share our own work and stuff like that. We open the lab to allow various professors from the university to use the equipment and the space to run some of their assignments and some little exercises in their courses. We run courses ourselves, focusing on becoming a better user of AR and VR, mostly targeting higher education professionals or instructional designers. And then, of course, we work a lot with experimentation. Our lab is always full of students, as you can see here on this photograph. We have lots of different equipment and usually around 30 students, mostly late bachelor, master level students working on group projects and video projects and their thesis projects. Just a small example of public events we run. Every 2-3 months, they used to be face-to-face with lots of hands-on and trying stuff and students demonstrating their applications. Our researchers from the lab demonstrating our prototypes and research project results and stuff like that. In the past year, we switched to online events. And these are just the posters from events very similar to the one you are running now. And I'm happy also to learn how you engage with the audience and what kind of sessions you have. And we'll be using that also later. And the second I just talked about the virtual reality and augmented reality part of the work I do at the university. And the second part is this international project that is called Digital Competencies for Language Teachers that I coordinate. And that's an international project in a consortium with 4 other universities in Europe. And we focus on developing digital competency for language teachers. And that's mostly resources, educational resources and educational events for language teachers in order to give them the theoretical background on technology-enhanced learnings and also computer-assisted language learning, and give them hands-on experience Of course, the plans were that we will do most of that face-to-face in all these 5 universities. And now we switch to interactive webinars, and we are really, we really redesigned this project. But one of the areas where we sort of engaged in this project was specifically using virtual reality for language teachers, and we developed a demonstrator, basically for the purpose of demonstrating language teachers the affordances of virtual reality, and not really developing a tool that is really versatile and can be used in multiple scenarios. We just developed example scenarios for different, for instance, different use cases. In this project, we sort of do things like we develop a survey and a study of different digital technologies, and a part of the team worked on these 2 interesting papers. I just added them into the presentation. I think that might be interesting for your community. Virtual reality in language learning, systematic review of implications for research and practice from last year. And another one, augmented reality in language learning, state-of-the-art review from 2014 to 19 by my friend and colleague Antigone Parmaxi. And that's also, if you are interested, we did a webinar on immersive tech for language learning, very similar to Alicia's presentation in the beginning of this session, covering slightly different examples and topics, but nevertheless. Again, this webinar and this recording, if you are interested to check it out, was complemented by a hands-on session in a prototype app that I just want to demonstrate now. I have it in screenshots. I will just click through them and I will show you a live demo. So it's a virtual reality environment. We developed it first. Yeah, we developed 2 scenes, and that was initially for learning Norwegian for the foreigners in Norway. We developed a scene in a forest and in a cafe, and we first developed a version for VR headsets like HTC Vive specifically, and then with the pandemic, we made a simplified version for the desktop VR. Sort of downgrading a bit, but make it more accessible so that we could also run it in a webinar format. We had things like a voice communication, chat communication. We have multiple interactive objects, and then if you pick them up, you'll hear how they're called in the specific language. You can also carry those objects, and then multiple people can join the same environment, carry different objects, hide them behind objects, above the objects, to the left from somebody, to the right from somebody, and sort of demonstrate and learn different. Yeah, well, you can implement some simple scenarios, language learning scenarios with those. There is a spelling book. Those objects that you've interacted, you can also get back and open a spelling book and check out their pronunciation, and also test your own pronunciation with a simple speech recognition function. So I think I went through all the basic stuff that we have. We also have a teacher mode and a student mode. And I'm now showing you the app already. So it's a collaborative app. We accommodate up to 9 people at the moment. Some of the interface is Norwegian, I think, but I'll just show you how that looks. And I wanted to also share experience because we run a webinar with a very large group of language teachers, mostly coming from all over the world, maybe half of them were from Europe, but we had also people from lots of other countries. And we had a lot of people who had no experience with virtual reality. And like here is a typical game environment. You can navigate using AWSD keys, and you can sort of walk around this forest. You can
a backpack.
Pick up an object, and you can carry that object and sort of hide it somewhere. And that was a challenge because many people, when we wrote instructions, okay, you can navigate using AWSD, but that was understandable for maybe half of our participants. So many language teachers don't know what does it mean to navigate using AWSD. And then we had to go back to, okay, you need to press down your W key and hold it. Hold it down. Okay, I'm holding it down. Okay, I'm running. So this kind of stuff. You can also pick up another object.
An apple.
Hear how it's pronounced, and then you can look back to the objects that you already picked up. So I picked up the backpack first, and then the apple, and then you can hear again
a backpack.
sounds, and then you can also test the pronunciation using a simple speech recognition function. So that's basically it. I couldn't demonstrate you the multi-user function, but I can also here I can use a text chat, and it's very basic. I can just type something like "hi all" or whatever else, and the others would see it. And I have a voice communication here, and up to 8 people can be in the same room and sort of chat around the campfire, play with objects, and practice some basic vocabulary, preposition, and that kind of scenarios. So that was a demo, and that was my talk. Thank you.
Thank you. Very interesting. Very interesting. I think we will make time for 2 questions, and then if people want to put questions in the chat,